Hello and welcome everyone to the Indo-American Art Council's celebration for the International Women's Day. Today, I have the pleasure of inviting three phenomenal, fabulous women onto the stage. I deeply admire and respect all three of them, and it's my honor to have them here to discuss their stories with us, share them. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Michelin star chef Surbhi Sahni. She has 2 decades of professional culinary experience and brings a fresh twist to modern Indian cuisine. She is the founder of Tagmo, a small batch sweets company run by women of color of South Asia. Well, Tagmo makes regional home foods and specialty sweets from across India. And it tells us stories of our migration, cultural experience, and resilience. Now, in the wake of the pandemic, they had to pivot. Tagmo expanded from a sweets company to include meal delivery in New York City. They dedicate a portion of the meals to local AIDS group, which provide food relief to underserved communities. Chef Surbhi has also worked as a creative force behind 3 other restaurants, Devi, Tulsi, and recently with Chef Hemant Mathur, the Sour Bistro. I'd like to welcome Surbhi here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Thank you, Surbhi. We have enjoyed Tagmo's food so many times, and it's so natural, like home food. And when I heard that the kitchen is all staffed with women from South Asia, it just feels incredibly, we're really personally connected to the food and to the stories that you bring with them every week when the weekly menu comes, and to hear the backstory, it's really inspiring. So thank you for coming and making time today. I'd like to tell the audience that the website is tagmotreats.com if you want to head over to and find more of Surbhi's food and what they do at Tagmo. So welcome.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Barkha onto the screen. Barkha Cardoz is currently the managing member of Cardoz Legacy LLC, where she actively executes ongoing legacy projects, including the FC plus Burlap and Barrel collaboration masala lines. With her husband, the late chef Floyd Cardoz, she managed their Bombay Bread Bar in New York City till 2019 and oversaw fundraising events for the Young Scientist Foundation, founded in 2011 with Floyd's Top Chef's Masters win. Welcome, Barkha, and thank you for coming and agreeing to be part of this conversation today.
Oh, it's such an honor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And we want to tell the audience that there's more, the collaboration masala line and about the work that you do on the Floyd legacy is floydcardoz.com/Barkha-Cardoz. So for people who are watching, there's more information there to figure out and find out the phenomenal work that she does to overcome obstacles and to take life as it comes and deal with it and come just work with the community and be stronger every day is such an inspiration. So thank you, Barkha.
Thank you. Hey, Surbhi.
Hi, Barkha. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Next, coming up is Pooja. Pooja is the founder of Malai. She's the CEO of Malai, an artisanal ice cream company with flavors inspired by nostalgic aromatic spices and South Asian ingredients. Based in Brooklyn, New York, and this is something that I still need to experience, the different flavors she brings into the ice creams: ginger, rose petals, saffron, cardamom. So exciting to see the robust flavors that you could have in the ice creams that we've never probably tasted before. So welcome, Pooja.
Thank you so much for having me, Suman.
Yeah. I'd like to tell people that, she sells the ice cream line nationwide. There's also a storefront in Brooklyn. And Pooja has also claimed the title of champion on Food Network's Chop Sweets in 2020. So that's exciting.
That was exciting, yes.
And you're also a 2018 Tory Burch Foundation Fellow and named as the Inc. Magazine Female Founders 100 in 2020. So 2020 was happening year in terms of the achievements, and to have this huge network of other entrepreneurs and women. How was the experience, Pooja?
I mean, it's always pretty amazing to have a group of women to tap into that has been through the same things you have. I think that two amazing women are right here, and so I'm excited for this conversation.
Absolutely. Folks, Pooja's line can be found on the website malai.co. So, after this conversation, you know where to go. There's three amazing women here and three great businesses. If you ever wanted to start a business or were thinking of one, here is some expired advice coming your way. So over to you, Pooja. I'm looking forward to hearing this more conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Surbhi, Barkha, it's such an honor to be a part of a conversation with you. I've admired both of you for so long. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this conversation.
I know for me personally, to just sit here and have this conversation with people that feel and think the same way, it's like we're sitting and having chai together right now, right?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at both of you and I think of you as trailblazers, and I kind of simultaneously, I think of you and think about how open you are with your advice and how welcoming you were, specifically to me, Surbhi. I remember we spent hours at a cafe one day and you just gave me all of this advice. And Barkha, we were introduced by a mutual contact and you reached out to me. It wasn't the opposite. And I was just floored by how generous you were with your time and with your advice. It seems like you are so aware of the next generation that's coming up that is trying to do the same things that you've already set the sails for. How does that feel? I would love to hear your perspective on that, because I'm just always so in awe of both of you.
I'm going to let Barkha start first.
Ooh. I'll save my best words for later.
I'm going to take the cues from you.
There are no cues. Hands. We all hold hands. So I'll go back to where we come from. We come from a culture, we come from a space where, you have community around you. Coming here, when I came to the States, I was 24. With just, suitcase and didn't even know what I was coming for. To have people embrace you, to show you the way, some gave you, stuff for the house or helped you with stuff along the way. And you realize that the only way forward is to actually recognize and be cognizant of where you are. And the fact that somebody helped you get there, because we all know when you come, at least for us, if you weren't born here and you didn't grow up here, your experiences, wherever you come from, actually hold value when you're here. You start out from zero. And so to have that, you start out realizing that if you have someone just holding your hand, advising you, showing you the way, it would make life so much simpler. And Floyd and I always did that. We always had that, like that mantra in your head that you gotta pay it forward. You have to pay it forward. And so I think that's where that comes from. And I always believe that the tide will rise when everybody is together. You can't walk on somebody else. You have to walk with people. And why not? For all of us to do it. So your alignment will take me further, because it's going to make me proud. It's going to make me want to tell people. I'm going to tell people about the mithai because I'm proud of it. And I think that's the way to go. You have to hold hands and just keep walking forward. Don't you think, Surbhi?
I completely agree. I'd also kind of want to add, for me, experience is very similar as for whatever Barkha is saying. But I think I also am a mom. And I think once my kid came into my life, it just totally changed my perspective in a way that when I was younger, I ran away from India basically because I didn't want to have all these boundaries around me, which sometimes can be a part of India. And so I wanted to run here and be independent and be free and be by myself. And then my child came along and I realized how much I needed people. I just needed to connect with people. I wanted to have a village around me. I wanted to have a community around me that not just for myself, but also for my children. And so I feel like the younger generation kind of become like our children for us. You know, we are all becoming into a larger sense of community with each other. And so you going forward is us going forward in a way that we're all kind of showcasing the same culture, we're kind of showcasing the same values, showcasing the same food. You know, back when, even when Floyd and I started working, the idea of Indian food was so small and so limited. Like, and you know, besides chicken tikka masala, there wasn't like a whole lot of conversation about what is it, like where does it come from, what kind of differences are there in the regions, and like even doing food that like your mom cooked in your house was not cool. It just wasn't like, and you could never sell it at the prices that you could sell French food at. You know, it was always like considered that it needs to be downgraded or it needs to be made American in a way that once I traveled here, I felt uncomfortable with. And so I think like it's been a huge movement in the last 20 years to see the industry kind of blow up and like become this different, it's a different world in some ways, you know. I mean, I feel like now I'm trying to catch up with many things that I don't necessarily always understand, like the way the younger generation it can right now. So I want to ask you a question, is that I mean, you guys have seen us from a different sort of a space and time. What kind of resources do you think, one, of course, we were able to provide, but two, that have come to you through this transition of time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, the way I always kind of classify immigrant versus first generation, my parents versus me, and I'm not at all putting you guys in the same category as my parents. I'm not aging you at all.
No,
but
your parents' generation, fine being your parents' generation.
But like, you know, my parents came and they built this life out of survival, you know, like they built this life out of necessity and they wanted to create a better life for their children. And so when I was coming up and I started thinking about starting my own business and wanting to start my own business, it was something that was, I will never forget this conversation that I had with my dad, which was, I was in business school and I was kind of going back and forth of whether or not I wanted to start my own business. I had this idea for Malai, or I wanted to get a job and recruit for a job, which is very traditional in business school. And he said, okay, you get the job that you want, you make the money that you want, and then what? And I was like, I don't know, Dad. Like, I will live a good life. I don't know what you want me to say. And he was like, but then what? He's like, what's after that? You're not building anything for yourself. And I thought that was really interesting to come from a perspective of an immigrant who started his own business and who had all of these ups and downs. And I witnessed, and me and my sister witnessed the ups and downs, and still really wanted to advocate for me to start my own business, right? Really wanted me to advocate, but not for survival, for passion. And I think that that's really the difference here, right? That like I had the resources set in place. People already did this before me. They paved the road for me so I could walk at a normal pace. I didn't have to dig and walk at the same time. And it was done for me that I was able to pursue these different business ideas through passion rather than for survival. And I think that that's what you guys did for this next generation. You made Indian food and this cuisine so much more accessible, so much more mainstream, that when I come in and I decided to launch Malai, that work was done for me. I think that Barkha, actually, when we were talking about this previously, Barkha mentioned something about the analogy of that heavy door, right? That there was a heavy door in front of you. And I'll let you say it, Barkha, because I don't want to take your quote. But that's that door, that heavy door that was in front of Barkha and Floyd and Surbhi, it was already cracked open by the time I went through it, because you guys opened it for me.
It's I don't have words. When I hear you speak, I feel like I hear my children speaking. It's like, it's just that feeling, that pride that you get when you watch your child speak. And that is, I think, what we take away when we hear all the young, the innovative, the amazingly talented. For me, most of them are kids, but this younger generation, the next generation of Indian stalwarts taking this cuisine where they're taking it, that's what I look at. I look at them and think about my kids, and this is what I want my children to have and to be. And so, like you said, for your dad, it was survival. For you, he's like, what is it that's going to make you tick? My kids were growing up, I'd always say to them, when you stand in front of the mirror in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, and that person you see in that mirror, and you can smile at that person, that's it. Everything else will come, because you need to have that. So when Floyd started out, I remember it being, Tabla was the amazing space. And we'd have people walk in there wanting to know where the $6.99 buffet was. Or, if they could get an order of something and they could split it between the two of them. Or, why wasn't this for free and why was that extra? I'm sorry, my dog decided to just leave it with us. So that's what is the, I feel like that door, to keep explaining yourself that this was not French food, but it was, the same ingredients. It was just a different flavor profile. It was hard to open that door. It was very hard. But I feel now, watching everybody do what they're doing, taking, your own culture, your own cuisine, things that you grew up eating at home, and being so proud to put it out there. We've come a long way, but it's a great space. It's a great space that we've come into. Thinking about that, my question to you, Pooja, and to Surbhi, because you guys are in the kitchens, you're working, what is it that makes you still stick with your own culture, your own heritage? Pooja, you with your Gujarati food, Surbhi with your more of the North Indian, just that. Why is it that you feel that you need to go there and not stick with, we use the word chicken tikka masala or palak paneer? What is it that makes you go?
So my journey has been very different from most other chefs. I think one, I never wanted to be a chef. It just kind of happened. And two, I came to the US initially to go to CIA or to NYU, which is what I ended up doing, because I wanted to become a French chef. And when I came here and I joined the food studies program and I started studying food, all I could think about was Indian food all the time. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt I knew nothing about it. And so I came to a place of recognition that if I don't know anything about where I'm coming from, how am I thinking that I'm going to be really good at something else? So I feel like my roots, and also I feel like I missed Indian food and I missed home cooking so much once you've traveled so far away into a different country, that all I could think about was the guy who ground spices for me around my corner, and I would go there and pick it up and just that entire experience of cooking with the community, with my friends, with like, what did it mean for me? And I mean, even like when I was living on my own, all I could do was cook for my friends. And all I cooked was Indian food. I wasn't making some fancy ass pasta dishes or, like creme brulees and stuff like that. Like I was doing basic home food. And, and then I started like kind of thinking about home cooking across the board in India. And I realized there's so little explored here in the US of it. Pooja, by the way, I have not tried my hand at Gujarati food yet. Like that's the one thing I am so terrified of in some ways. I kind
terrified? Why?
I don't know enough about it. I haven't done my due diligence and research. So please, cooking classes are due, required.
You know what you do for that, Surbhi? You need to find Gujarati friends and just get invited to them.
Yeah, just come over.
That's how it works.
Yeah, when are you inviting me? I have friends.
What we're all going to be doing. I'm going to be cooking Sindhi food and Goan food for you guys, and you're going to be cooking for me soon. Soon, we're going to do that.
Yeah, I think like I started cooking like for Tagmo, like for all these years that I've been cooking in different restaurants. All I've been thinking about is like, what are these very specific recipes that women make in their homes? Like, what dal is made in my house is probably not made in yours and certainly not made in yours. Like just the flavor profiles are so different. And so then I started in this last 1.5, 2 years. I've had so much fun doing all different home style foods. It's like an open canvas book for me. And I'm really having such a great time. Like there's nothing else I should be doing.
I have to say, Surbhi, like you were so generous in sending me some of that food. And I was with my parents at the time and we had dinner together and it felt like ghar ka khana, right? Like it felt like we made it at home and ate it. And it was so pure. It was so delicious. And it tasted pretty Gujarati to me.
My very small attempt.
That's okay.
It's a lot of homework and it's a lot of phone calls to people and it's a lot of research and it's a lot of, I think I'm also super grateful because I have an amazing team of women that work with me. So yes. So Pooja, why do you keep going? Why go back and do Indian food?
For me, I have a little bit of a different perspective, right? Because I didn't actually grow up in India. I grew up here in the States in North Carolina. So I'm really coming from the first generation perspective that you really want to hold on to your roots in the best way possible. And, always for me, and this is probably true for all of us, that food is so powerful, right? It's the only thing that is so cross social and traditional and cultural, and it has its own language. And so food always has been a way for communication within family. And I always went back to India and cooked with my grandmother and cooked with, with my aunts. And I just it's always been such a powerful part of my growing up. And so I wanted to do something with food. And I knew I just wanted to connect it back to my roots because that's where all my stories are. That's what makes me tick. That is a part of my identity. And so that's the reason why I wanted to connect it back to India, because it's very similar to what you said, Surbhi, that first of all, I think that, this is a completely separate conversation about imposter syndrome and what right do I have anyway of doing anything that I do. Yeah. But that's a very separate story. But it's really that what kind of authority would I have on anything except for my perspective, right? That this is my perspective. I'm not saying that this represents all of India. I'm not saying that this represents all of America. I'm not saying that this represents the first generation Indian American experience. I'm saying that this represents me, and this is the best way to showcase me. And so I had to bring in my roots. That was the only way, because that was so much a part of, and continues to be, of who I am.
I think this is such an interesting way of like, well, first of all, there's no imposter syndrome here. You're very much an Indian. No imposter syndrome required. But for me, I kind of also kind of think about when this conversation is going about I don't know, a lot of people don't know this, but like my first job was at the Sheraton in Delhi, Maurya Sheraton, and I was part of an all women's kitchen. It was the first all women's kitchen in India. And I think when I started, there were a total of maybe 20 chefs in the entire Delhi, in all of the hotels combined. So we were very unusual for our time. And now I see all these young upcoming girls as entrepreneurs. I see lots of different chefs in India that are women. Um, I mean, it's been it's so amazing to see this entire community of women in food industry to kind of come up and start doing things. I want to kind of open these two questions to both Barkha and to you. What do you see the role of women in the industry right now in comparison to then? And how is the community building itself? Like, where are these connections? Are we connecting? Are we doing all the things? Especially to you, Pooja, as a younger generation coming up. I feel like I am learning from you, not the other way around in many ways, more ways than one. Because I see this younger generation take on a whole world of its own. Like it's a new communication space. So Barkha, you want to say first, and then maybe Pooja?
Yeah, for me, it's 20, 30 years of being in this business, starting out as just someone's helper at the Taj, not being given that role to say you're intelligent enough or you're smart enough or your experience or your education is enough for you to lead, to do it. It's like you always got to stand behind a man that's going to tell you what to do. To come here to this point in our lives where there's leadership, there is people are moving boundaries, they're crossing, there's nothing that's stopping anybody to do what they want to do. Look at you, there's so many Indian women, not just in here in the States, but even in India, that are doing things that when I was there, when I was growing up in the 80s, 70s, 80s, I never saw that. You never saw that. You never,
Yeah.
we were not allowed to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And if you did, it was taken on by a male figure that decided that he was going to take your idea and move it forward. But, you didn't get the recognition, you didn't get the accolades. Watch where we're at today, where we're leading the way. It's just blows my mind. And like, why not? Why shouldn't we do that? But I also feel as women, we come with a lot more responsibilities. So we don't just take care of ourselves, we take care of a community. And we take everybody with us.
Yeah.
Whether it's the women that cook with you, or it's just people that are part of your inner circle, outer circle. We tend to, as women, not just think about ourselves, because that's like that instinct that comes in, is like, I need to take care of A, B, C, and D, and then I will be okay. Don't you feel that? And I think that's what's empowering a lot of women too, because when you have most often, I shouldn't say it's always, but most often when there's a man that's in leadership, it's hierarchy. Whereas when it's a woman that's in leadership, it's community, and you take everyone with you. I don't know how you guys feel about that and how you pivot to that in your businesses, whether it's now, whether it's been, the past few years, but especially now with COVID and, all the new things that you had to keep in mind to keep business afloat. I wonder if there was different thought process that came in with community for you guys, what it was, before, when everything was fine and, was just business as usual. Pooja, what is the difference that you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, to go back to your point of like leadership styles, I think that I completely agree, and I think that there's been a lot of studies done on this too, right? That like there's a certain stereotypical male leadership style and a female leadership style, where females are just naturally more empathetic and therefore can relate to their team much more, and so as you mentioned, Barkha, like it does turn into much more of a community because of that. I always found very interesting, kind of like in the history of, you know, of the world, that like it's so interesting that we like look at so many different cultures and so many different households and countries around the world where the woman is the center of the household, and so stereotypically the center of the household and therefore the center of the kitchen. And yet in these professional kitchen roles, it would always be a very male dominated industry. And like where we would like always look to women for like that natural touch and like that a little bit of extra something, the you know, that little special part of something that you can't even name, it's the man that cooks it. And I always found that to be really interesting, that like why is that kind of, you know, two very opposing thoughts to be there. Like I think that, I don't know if you guys have read it, but there was an article in Food and Wine very recently about the power of the auntie, you know, that like that we all, so many cultures have aunties that we look towards that can explain that, you know, that hand feel of like cooking and things like that. And like, we don't look at uncles for that, you know?
So, Dil se.
Yes, exactly.
When an auntie or your mom or your grandmother or whoever cooks, it's always cooked with that joy. Floyd cooked with joy, but you know, like you're cooking you're cooking because you want to put that love into it even more, because it's nurturing. It's like you said, it's just that feeling of a parent, a mother, a woman that you just naturally add. So that's the dil se, I call it.
Yeah, sure. I think also, like, I mean, I generally feel with Indian food, men and women just cook differently. I mean, even professional chefs, and like no pun against any male Indian chef here, they're all amazing in their own right. But I think just the way our minds are geared, and the way we think about food generally as women is different. One, two, I think I don't know about the way other leaders kind of work. In my space, it's a very team effort. So like even when the menus are being discussed, like it's a very open discussion forum. Like, so I'm not going to make a Bombay style food, for example, just by myself. I will go and ask someone that has actually lived in Bombay. I'll call them, I'll bug them for weeks. I'll be like, so what about this? Should we try this out? You know, I just feel, and that brings so much pleasure to me, because then I am learning and growing from it. And it's not an individual process anymore. It becomes a community process. It becomes all of these connections that I end up making, that like then it feels like a village that's actually making my company or my dream or my life kind of come together. Just so much more satisfying for me to be in that space than just kind of be called an executive chef of this restaurant. For me, that's my personal experience. So I'm bugging you both soon. That's what. Just get ready.
I'll only answer the phone. Call it Bombay, don't call it Mumbai.
That's done.
Right? Exactly. Even I know that.
Done.
Ladies, what a wonderful conversation. I feel like we could talk forever. But I think I'm going to pass it back on to Suman, who has a couple more questions for us.
Thank you, Pooja. What a fun conversation! I'm really enjoying this whole, banter going on here. I just had this one last question before we kind of wrap up for this evening. Is, what is that one food that really resonates with you, that one food that feels like home to you? I really want to know from each of you.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Um, so for me, if you asked me, it's almost like if you're asking me what's my last meal, or that space, like when the whole world seems to be doing whatever it's doing to me, I need to go back to eating my Sindhi rice, sai bhaji, which is, just spinach cooked with a lot of vegetables, mushed up, with
So
oh, it's delicious with some yogurt on the side, and I need to have my Sindhi papad. I
Oh,
have,
wow.
and that's it. I will sit there and just be so thankful, and it's just a mood lifter for me to know, because what that is like for all of us, food is association with memories, with growing up, or with people. To me, that's a feeling of being a child again, being just nurtured. So I feel that nurtures me, and that always will help. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Sounds so yum.
It is so simple, and it's just my take on dal chawal.
Right, right. Pooja, go ahead.
I think that for me, it's always going to be Surbhi Gujarati food. It's going to be like khichdi or rotla or something like that. But I think that the number one thing that like absolutely brings me home, no matter what, is just a cup of chai. I think that just a cup of chai, my mom's recipe, which she learned from her mom, which she learned from her mom, like it's just like, it's such a personalized family recipe, right? Every single family has their own recipe of chai. It was like when I was little, I used to just smell my parents' cup of chai. Like it was just so intoxicating, that sweet, spicy smell. It was honestly one of the main inspirations to start Malai. And so I think that nothing makes me feel more warm and cozy and like closer to my family than just a really good cup of chai.
Chai with it.
I can.
Well, I'm digestives, and I feel like this could be in its own panel completely.
You can't take away our glucose biscuits. Not us. Maybe you and onwards, but for us, glucose biscuits top. That's it.
I sense a new line of Malai happening, not just ice cream, but chai happening with it.
Oh, she's
100%.
Over to you, Surbhi.
So I think for me, it's going to be a very Punjabi dish, of course. So on Sundays, my family almost always had rajma chawal or chole chawal. That was our thing. We don't have a lot of rice in our household. It's mostly rotis, and I love rice. So for me, it has to be rajma chawal. It has to be sitting in my balcony in my apartment in Delhi, and it has to be those steel dishes where like the food has just been cooked and it's like super hot and your fingers are burning while you're eating it, but like it's just so amazing you can't stop eating it. And then my dad, who's very super loving and amazing, would just sit there and like, especially on winter afternoons, would peel the oranges and hand them over to me. It was the cutest thing ever. Like I feel like for me, like just those basic things are, I can die after that.
Suman, what about you? You're asking us. We're gonna ask you. What's your favorite go-to?
Well, dosa. You cannot beat a dosa. I'm from Andhra, so I've grown up with idlis and dosas, and I love. I'm loving all those new variations of the dosa that you get. The paneer dosa and the people are making Szechuan dosa. So you never know. The flavors are endless.
For sure.
So thank you, ladies. I think I can speak on behalf of the community to say that we are all so incredibly proud of you all. You're I see it in the businesses that you're running, your courage, your resilience in life, your persistence, and I think That's key to any success in life and so in business. Each of you are honoring your roots in your own way, but also, breaking and those boundaries and barriers that you encounter. So very inspirational.
Thank you.
And you know that I'm saying all these nice things about you just because I want to be invited to young Gujarati and Sindhi dinners that you're all talking about. I want to be invited too.
Done it.
You didn't need to do that. You would be
That's the
invited.
only reason. That's the only reason.
Instant get fed.
but but seriously speaking, I mean, as a working professional, as a woman, I feel that the work that you do in terms of the food and the masala lines and all of the catering, and that makes my life easy. As a, you're all supporting us women like me in this community, so thank you. But it's not just about food, it's always also about the business ideas. I feel like, and even me included, we always have these business ideas, and I feel that here today are 3 reasons why people need to start executing on this vision and goals. So thank you for being there in the community.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And I also want to take a moment to thank the audience who are tuning in tonight. And I want to give, Instagram handles, people who wish to follow them. I'd like to say you can follow Malai. Pooja is at Malai_ice cream. And Surbhi is at Tagmo Treats. And Barkha is at B Cardoz. And, you can find all of these details on our website, iaac.us. So be sure to give them a follow and a like. And, their websites are malai.co, tagmotreats.com, and floydcardoz.com/barkha-cardoz. So head on over there and support the women in our community and celebrate International Women's Day. So thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.